Our today's conversation is about ESG, and the theme on the E is the climate, and you'll hear a lot about that has been discussed and talked about. Thank you all for coming over. I see some faces from our Ministry of Finance, which are designated as a nationally designated authority, and then we also have some folks from our Ministry of Planning. They are the ones that are owning the national adaptation policy for Ethiopia on climate. You'll hear a lot of the acronyms and jargons on climate today. I spent one full day getting questioned on the climate space last week, and it was quite revealing. My name is Eyob Gebreyesus. I'm the Director of Capital Markets at FSD Ethiopia. I would like to invite Ermias Eshetu, CEO of FSD Ethiopia, to come to the podium, to the stage, and give us our welcoming speech and welcome everyone.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, and all who've managed to get an invite to this fully subscribed session. Really privileged to have you all this morning. Thank you so much for making time to be here. My name is Ermias Eshetu. I'm the CEO of FSD Ethiopia. FSD Ethiopia was only established just about a year ago, and we have been primarily working on supporting the financial market systems to be improved and strengthened here in Ethiopia. We work closely with the National Bank of Ethiopia, the Ministry of Finance, with EIH. We work with the Capital Markets Authority, the ESX, etc. There's a lot of hard work going on behind the scene, and we're all too excited to be part of that process and to be able to support this amazing transformation journey. We're really delighted to welcome you this morning to this almost a regular monthly session of the knowledge series that we're convening. The objective of the knowledge series is really to bring experts, policymakers, regulators together so that we start to discuss pertinent issues as we develop our financial market systems and beyond. Today's subject, none other than ESG, environment, social, and governance, is a very important topic for us as FSD and for our partners and collaborators on this event today, both from ABE and also from IFC. The reason is that ESG is now one of the key pillars on the global financial market system, and indeed for our own objective as FSD Ethiopia, we have three important pillars at FSD Ethiopia. One is capital market or the financial markets that Fasil is leading at the moment. That's primarily overseeing, supporting the capital markets team, the ESX, the Security Exchange, and others. The Fasil's team also is working on reforming, supporting the Ministry of Finance on devising a better investment strategy for the two pension funds that we have at hand. A lot of work is being put behind that, so we're all too excited for that to eventually come and support the capital markets hard work and the Security Exchange work and the future ecosystem of the capital market that we will have. The other pillar is the DFS, or the financial inclusion pillar, primarily working on financial payment systems and ensuring national level inclusion. Again, we have a lot of active work that we are doing with the National Bank and other key stakeholders at the moment. We've gone down to each region trying to diagnose problematic areas where it comes to financial inclusion. And of course, this last pillar is a climate finance pillar. Climate finance is now a very hot topic on the global finance scene and something that we need to be discussing and convening about. So these three pillars is where FSD Ethiopia is focused, and with our FSD Africa colleagues, we have Vimal today. Thank you, Vimal, for being here this morning. And ESG is a cross-cutting issue, no doubt. So it's really important. It's all about sustainability, governance, making sure that Ethiopian businesses, Ethiopian financial service providers are able to tap into the global market system, the global access, to have a global access to finance, to be able to address our business needs and our market needs here in Ethiopia. And in that process, we need to be able to be savvy about how we are thinking about the ESG framework. So I'm really delighted to have you all this morning, and I'm honored and humbled to welcome Her Excellency, my good friend Hikmet Abdella, to the stage to give us the opening speech. Madam Hikmet will give us some update on app-based work, and Dr. Eyob from the National Bank will be providing us with the keynote speech. So thank you, Hikmet.
I want to acknowledge the presence of Ato Eyob Gebreyesus, the Vice Governor of National Bank of Ethiopia, our development partners, key industry players, and invited guests. Good morning, everyone. Unlike what's written on the program, I'm not delivering a welcoming address. I think my friend Ermias has done a good job. What I'll do is give you an update on perhaps what APE does. I see many, many new faces, in short, and what the accountancy profession's link is with the topic of today, ESG. I'd like to take this opportunity also to thank my friend Dr. Ermias Eshetu. When I reached out to him, and I'll talk about it later, to help us with getting industry players so that everyone is sensitized that this is coming. It's one of the pillars, like Ermias said, for FSD Ethiopia. So let's see how we can integrate our many initiatives on the ground. So thank you. So what happened before ABE? ABE stands for Accounting and Auditing Board of Ethiopia. Some of our development partners will know the equivalency would be the Financial Reporting Council of the UK. So it's the regulatory arm of the accountancy profession in Ethiopia. What happened prior to the establishment of ABE was not very inviting. There was absolutely no comprehensive reporting framework. Licensing of accounting and auditors in the profession was done by the Auditor General, the Federal Auditor General. Like the Auditor General had no important mandate to take care of. It was like a side activity for the Auditor General. There was lack of consistency and uniformity, starting from the education sector, like training in accountancy at the tertiary level, at the universities, onto qualification on the professional accountancy. There was a principle that everybody knew as GAP, as generally accounting principles, but no one verified what kind of, it wasn't a local Ethiopian GAP. It was not adhering to international US GAP or other GAPs as we know them, so we had no local standards. So depending on where your education was and who your teacher was, everybody had their own idea on what standards should look like. So it was really interesting, like in terms of the ecosystem, I wonder how tax was collected. And I wonder, like, the trust and the use of financial reporting was very, very, or non-existent, actually. There could be an argument today whether financial reports are actually used to make investment decisions, even as we speak, but we can address that later. There was no national standards and codes, including corporate governance. Few qualified accountants. As most of you know, even earlier this morning, Eyob was saying, I know you during your ACCA times. I established was the first country head for ACCA Ethiopia. So the only organization that actually qualified professional accountancy, even to date, was ACCA. No local professional accountancy organization, and I think we can address that later. That's changing, hopefully, in the near future. There was absolutely no monitoring of these professional accountants. That could be accountants or auditors that were part of the ecosystem of actually preparing audited financial statements for use in the market. Like I said, ACCA was present, but has absolutely no jurisdiction mandate to actually monitor its members here as we speak. So after a lot of lobbying at the government, ABE was established by law in 2014 under Proclamation 847 and Council of Ministers Regulation 332. The scope of application was on all reporting entities. By the way, reporting entities as we know it, this is a term that is used by ABE. If you go to the Ministry of Trade, they're called companies. If you go to the revenue authorities, they're called taxpayers. When it comes to ABE, they're reporting entities. So it's all the same thing, right? Companies. So it's applicable to all reporting entities that are established in accordance with the Ethiopian law and operating in Ethiopia. And it's applicable to all professionals that are operating in Ethiopia. So what do? In short, we license and monitor professionals. We adapt or adopt international reporting frameworks. So as most of you know, Ethiopia in the private sector has adopted international financial reporting standards, IFRS, for the last 6 years, and we're still under conversion. We review audited financial reports because most of the public interest entities and other SMEs are required to lodge their audited financial statements to ABE. We conduct audit quality reviews for the first time. Auditors that are licensed are reviewed and monitored by us. And we also advise corporate governance matters to government and stakeholders as per the law. So as we speak, we're updating our various laws. So it takes account the many international developments in the regulatory area. That also includes updating our corporate governance mandate to actually encompass ESG. So when IFC approached us and said, perhaps as a regulatory body, what can we do to develop a possible guideline for Ethiopia? We obviously took it to heart, because that's how the international environment is heading. We signed the agreement in March 2023. First of all was to develop a corporate governance code. As most of you will know, corporate governance guidelines or code did not exist in Ethiopia as one framework. There are many initiatives in different regulatory bodies. For example, Addis Ababa Chamber of Commerce has been working on potentially a guideline for companies that are its members. And then we have the state-owned enterprise regulatory bodies like PIHA or EIH now that have a kind of a guideline on corporate governance. Then we have some guidelines for the financial industry by the National Bank. So it's all fragmented here and there. One thing that I would like to mention is, as you all know, and I always say in any panel that I'm invited to, I think what Ethiopia is trying to do in terms of the reforms and how quickly they're materializing vis-a-vis what's actually on the ground, it's not plausible, I think. We have to look at capacity on the ground in terms of translating these reforms. We have to professionalize some of our professions, which don't exist at the moment, but we rely heavily from international consultants, which is not sustainable. So generally, as we speak now, this is the case for ESG matters also. So fragmented regulatory, so the global movement to align regulatory framework, we have taken that on board as ABBE also. As you know, we have the upper hand on any financial reports matter by mandate. But as we speak, it's all regulatory bodies have their own requirements when it comes to financial reports. So what we're trying to do is we have a working group now to look at perhaps harmonizing some of the issues so we're aligned. We were told that Ethiopia is always last to come on the table on many, many reforms. But as I say, perhaps coming last gives us an opportunity to learn from other people's mistakes and make sure that we do it right the first time. So aligning regulation is very, very important so that we actually close many of the loopholes that are currently there. So when it comes to ESG then, so people, even though corporate governance wasn't aligned at a national level, it looks at perhaps how organizations focus on decision making, report on activities and ensure ethical behavior. And now we're looking at environmental and sustainability issues. So all this, I think, when it comes to integrated financial reporting, the discussion internationally is perhaps it's the auditors that should give assurance on these matters, because we are the Van de Graads of financial reports, right? So there can't be many regulatory bodies that look at environment separately, sustainability separately, and governance separately. So this should all be, the requirement now internationally is now to report on audited financial reports, and that auditors gives assurance to these matters. So ISSB was established, the International Sustainability Standards Board. So as we speak, 2 sustainability standards have been issued. And it was established by the trustees of IFRS Foundation. So I think by default then, the regulation of these standards should be with the accountancy profession. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Director General Hikmet, for your wonderful presentation. I come from an accounting background, so I know what those standards that are coming. The IFRS standards are about financial reporting, but also now what we have is the IFRS S1 and the IFRS S2. The S1 is, it provides a set of disclosure requirements designed to enable companies to communicate to investors about the sustainability, risks and opportunities. So can you imagine, like, now you're an accountant, you've been putting together financial reports as well as footnote disclosures. This is going to be one of those requirements coming through, not necessarily now, but sometime soon. The second one is IFRS S2, which sets out specific climate-related disclosures. And these are going to be so much more important for us and in terms of attracting climate-related financing. So with that, I would like to invite our keynote speaker, His Excellency Vice Governor Eyob Gebreyesus, Vice Governor of the National Bank of Ethiopia. Welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly honored to stand before you today as we gather for this knowledge series event hosted by FSD Ethiopia in conjunction with the Accounting and Auditing Board of Ethiopia, IFC, where we came together to explore and discuss critical issues that shape our world. Today, I want to talk about the pressing matters of environmental, social, and governance, commonly referred to as ESG. In recent years, the importance of ESG matters has grown significantly. We find ourselves at a crossroads faced with mounting environmental challenges, social inequalities, and a demand for better corporate governance. These issues are not separate, but deeply interconnected, and addressing them requires a holistic approach. The importance of integrating ESG by businesses cannot be overemphasized, particularly as globally we have witnessed the COVID pandemic between 2019 and 2022, which brought up many sustainability and ESG-related issues. In addition, the existing and pressing issues of climate change and significant risks it is presenting globally, and even more so in Africa and Ethiopia, highlights why ESG is now a core aspect of how we operate and live. The promise of ESG stems from an important proposition. The key challenges we face today, from achieving reasonable levels of equity and equality of opportunity to ensuring environmental sustainability cannot be overcome by any single actor, not even the government. On the contrary, effective solutions will require all hands on deck, including business, government, finance, education, and the non-profit sphere. Let's start with the E in ESG, which stands for environmental. Our planet is facing unprecedented ecological threats like climate change, deforestation, pollution, and depletion of natural resources, to name just a few. The consequence of our actions today will shape the world that future generations inherit. It is our responsibility to act as responsible custodians of this planet, ensuring its health and sustainability for years to come. We must embrace renewable energy, reduce our carbon footprint, promote sustainable practices, and foster environmental stewardship at all levels, from individuals to corporations and governments. Moving on to the S in the ESG, which represents social matters, it reminds us that our actions should not only consider profits and bottom lines, but also the well-being of society as a whole. We must acknowledge the profound disparities that exist and work towards building a more inclusive, just, and equitable world. This means addressing issues like poverty, access to education, healthcare, gender and racial equality, and human rights. It means promoting diversity and inclusion in all spheres of life. By fostering social responsibility, empathy, and compassion, we can create a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Lastly, let's go to the G in the ESG, which signifies governance. It emphasizes the need for transparent, accountable, and ethical decision-making processes within organizations and institutions. Good governance is the foundation upon which trust is built, and it's crucial for long-term success. This encompasses responsible management practices, effective oversight, fair business practices, and integrity in all interactions. By promoting good governance, we can restore faith in institutions and rebuild public trust. Environmental, social, and governance investing has become increasingly mainstream in recent years. Globally, this type of investing accounts for somewhere between 1 and 2 out of every 4 investment dollars. It is important to note that integrating ESG risks is about making good investment decisions, and for companies, it is about good risk management, long-term value creation, and improving sustainability reporting. Having said this, across Africa, it would be fair to say that historically, ESG investing has not been at the top of the priority list for companies and investors. However, that is changing, and these issues will have an increasingly important impact on the investment landscape. Companies in Africa and Ethiopia, big and small, will experience increased demands and expectations regarding how they conduct business. Sustainability in business is a mega trend and it will continue to grow. Furthermore, Sub-Saharan Africa is the world's most commodity-dependent region, and much of its income is a product of the export of petroleum products, agriculture, textiles, and metals and minerals. Yet there are more opportunities in Africa for investors to make a positive environmental or social impact than in any other region in the world. Increasingly, in Ethiopia, we have seen the need for the integration of environmental, social, and corporate governance practices into private sector development. And it is becoming more and more a norm in doing business and a key way to support a company's financial performance, as well as create long-term value for its shareholders, employees, and stakeholders. In respect to that, the Accounting and Auditing Board of Ethiopia is engaged in shaping the ESG agenda in Ethiopia in collaboration with International Finance Corporation, the private sector arm of the World Bank, and Financial Sector Deepening Ethiopia. Furthermore, the board is working closely with the Capital Markets Authority, the Addis Ababa Chamber of Commerce and sectoral associations, and the Ethiopian Bankers Association in harmonizing all ESG initiatives within the country. I call on all your unwavering participation and support in realizing our ambitions. ESG matters are not mere buzzwords, they represent a call to action. We must recognize that businesses, governments, and individuals all have a role to play. Companies should embed sustainable practice in their strategies, going beyond profit maximization to consider their impact on the environment and society. Governments need to enact and enforce policies that encourage responsible behavior and hold accountable those who disregard them. And each of us, as individuals, must take responsibility for our choices and strive to make a positive impact through our actions. By embracing the principles of ESG, we can create a world where economic prosperity, social justice, and environmental sustainability coexist. It is not an easy journey, but it is one of we must embark on together. Let's seize this opportunity to collaborate, share knowledge, and inspire one another. Together, we can build a better future, a future where environmental, social, and governance matters are not just a series of letters, but guiding principles that shape our world. We look forward to walking a journey that enables us all to learn and apply international ESG best practices in the quest to grow the Ethiopian economy sustainably. I am sure that you will have a successful deliberations on this and the remarks highlighted earlier by the Director General, Mr. Hikmet. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor, for a very inspiring speech. We really thank you for your presence, Vice Governor Eyob. Thank you so much for setting the stage and the discussion points for us today.